welcome to our webinar regarding the upcoming VAT changes in July. I am happy to announce that we will do this together with our partners from Avalara. From my side, so from the eBay side, I brought Irene, Catherine, and Annika with me. And to me, I'm Isabel. I'm part of the global product marketing team and responsible for the VAT activities around this upcoming changes. And with this, Alexa, I would suggest I directly hand over to you and to everyone who has questions during the webinar, and I'm sure some of you will. Please feel free to use the chat option. You can find the chat button here at the bottom in your Zoom view. And yeah, please just drop your question in there. We will have definitely a few minutes at the end of this webinar, and we'll try to cover as much as we can.
Great. Okay, thanks very much, Isabel. Hi, everybody. My name's Alexa Matthews. I'm a senior solutions consultant here at Avalara, and that means that I basically spend my time talking to people about our products and our services and what we do here. And today, let me just get my screen up. Today, I'm going to be talking through some of the changes in the EU that are coming in following the introduction of the e-commerce VAT reforms, which are coming into effect on the 1st of July this year. Oops, why isn't that working? There we go. Okay, so firstly, I'll go through what exactly the changes are. So what's happening from the 1st of July in terms of changes to place of supply rules, changes to thresholds, simplifications, and changes to reporting obligations as well. We'll then look in a bit more detail at deemed supplier rules and how these can affect you as a business selling through a marketplace. We'll then go into some seller use cases, which I hope will kind of help to illustrate exactly what these changes can mean for businesses like yours. And then a brief summary just on key takeaways from this, including some areas where Avalara can help as well. Okay, so let's get stuck right in. So what is the EU e-commerce VAT package and what are the changes? What's actually going to happen on the 1st of July? So firstly, why are these reforms being brought in? There are two main reasons, I guess. Firstly, to try and combat fraud and also to try and make reporting and compliance easier. So a big part of this is to try and kind of sweep up all those small sellers who are trading through Europe, who are managing to kind of stay largely under the radar, you know, so companies who are making use of low value consignment relief thresholds, distance selling thresholds, and so on. Now, the flip side of this is if you're expecting smaller sellers to register for and start collecting VAT throughout the EU, there needs to also be measures to make that easier to manage. You know, registering and filing returns in potentially 27 different countries in a multitude of different languages is really no small task. So that's what the new legislation is trying to address as well. There are three main areas really which can affect e-commerce sellers. There are some other areas affected as well, such as electronic services providers, but today we're just going to be focusing on e-commerce. So first, let's talk about the changes within the EU. So where stock is held in the EU and shipped direct to customers from there. Okay, so Intra-EU Changes. First and foremost, distance selling thresholds are going to be removed. So where in the past you would only need to register in a country once you hit a certain volumes of sales into that country, so it would be either 35,000 euros or 100,000 euros per country, depending on the country, there will now be no thresholds. Okay, so there's a slight aside to that there will be a total threshold of 10,000 euros for all sales within the EU, but that's only for very small EU companies which only have one fixed establishment in the EU. So as UK businesses, this won't apply. And that means that any sales made from stock held in the EU needs to be charged and reported in the country of the customer. Now this can be a total faff, right? So there's, you know, those 27 registrations I was just talking about, potentially even just one sale to say an Estonia customer, and suddenly you need to charge and report Estonian VAT, which is not so easy if you have to do that through a regular VAT return. So alongside the removal of those thresholds, the EU are also introducing a one-stop shop simplification procedure. And you've probably heard of this before as the OS return. And this simplification allows sellers to register in just one EU country, and you then file one summarized return for all the sales that you make throughout the EU. So each quarter you would file a single return with, one line saying 100 euros of VAT collected in Austria, 500 euros of VAT collected in Belgium, and so on. Okay, so that's what's changing in terms of sales made from within the EU. No import involved there. What about when you're shipping goods from outside of the EU direct to your EU customers? So, for example, you're shipping from the UK direct to your customers in the EU. There are changes here too as well. So firstly, the low value consignment relief or de minimis threshold is now being removed from the 1st of July. So any of you that sell low value goods, I'm sure you will have heard of this and you'll be aware of it. Currently, if you ship goods to an EU customer of a value of 22 euros or less, import VAT's not applicable. Okay, there's no need to register for VAT or have your customer kind of need to deal with VAT and import taxes at the point of delivery. From the 1st of July, that threshold is going, and instead all imports will now be subject to import VAT. And this also means that you're always going to need to know the commodity code, or I should say the HS code of the goods that you're shipping. And you'll need to have that to clear the goods through customs as well. Now, again, on the flip side of that, if the sales you're making are under 150 euros, you can then choose to register for the Import One-Stop Shop Simplification Scheme. So this is the IOS scheme that you might have heard of. In that case, you can then charge local VAT to your customers and exempt that import. And again, it'll be one registration for all those types of imports that you make to all 27 different member states, okay? It is a little bit confusing, so we'll look at some examples around this in just a couple of minutes as well, okay? And then finally, the third change, which is probably going to have quite a bit of an impact on you guys, there are changes to the obligations of electronic interfaces or marketplaces. So, for example, eBay as well. And these new rules state that if certain conditions are met, an electronic interface or marketplace becomes liable for the sale to the end customer. And that effectively means that they're making the sale instead of you, the retailer. And you, the retailer, then makes a B2B supply to that marketplace. And the conditions that need to be met on that are that either the sale is of imported goods, so say coming from the UK, for example, of less than 150 euros, and then that'll affect those import sales that we were just talking about, or the supplies are made on a marketplace from within the EU to another member state, but by a non-EU business. So again, a UK business, but this time maybe you're holding stock within the EU. So let's just have a quick look at how that works, okay? So first example, a sales made from a UK supplier. The value's less than 150 euros and the goods are shipped direct from the UK to the EU customer. Instead of you just making a sale to your customer, as you will have done up until now, eBay makes that final sale. They're deemed to be the seller to the end customer, and you instead invoice eBay. Okay, similarly to that, the UK seller makes a sale of any value to an EU customer, but the goods are shipped from within the EU. So there's no threshold now, any value sale. But again, in this situation, eBay becomes the deemed supplier and they make the sale to the customer and you invoice eBay instead. Okay, now the kind of good thing about this, and this is where some of the simplifications come in, is that if your business model kind of falls into one of those two categories and those alone, eBay or any marketplace that you were selling on, they kind of handle all that EU VAT stuff and the complications around that for you. You were then just making that one B2B sale to eBay. There's no need to collect VAT in every different country where you have customers dotted throughout the EU. Okay. All right, so that's quite a lot of information. They're the three main things that are changing that might have an impact on your types of businesses. So let's have a look at a couple of examples, which I hope will kind of bring this to life a little bit, okay? Let's have a look at a couple of seller use cases. Okay, so the first example, UK company, you're selling jewelry, say, for 10 euros to customers in the EU, all right? So, kind of bracelets, something like that. And you're selling via eBay. So you're selling on a marketplace and the goods that you sell are shipped direct from stock that you hold in the UK to your customers in the EU. So what does that situation look like at the moment? Currently, the low value consignment relief threshold of €22 would apply here. You're below that value. And that means that there's no import VAT due on that sale. So when the goods are cleared through customs into the EU, there's no import VAT on that. And it effectively means that the seller for these low value goods can ship their goods to the EU with no VAT implications. And the sale is being made by that UK company direct to their end customer. So even though you're selling on eBay, for example, the relationship is between you and your customer. eBay's there effectively as a facilitator. However, from the 1st of July this year, that low value consignment relief, the de minimis threshold, will no longer exist, and VAT is applicable on this sale. However, because the sale's made on a marketplace, it's below the €150 threshold, and the goods are being shipped from outside the EU, deemed supplier rules would apply. And what that means is that eBay makes the sale to the final customer. They're the deemed supplier in this situation, and you make an exempt supply, a B2B sale, to eBay. So you're now selling to eBay instead of to that end customer that's bought a bracelet off you for €10. Okay, you'll still be shipping the goods. You know, you're not actually physically selling them to eBay, but they take title at that point and they make that deemed supply to the end customer. You'll also then need to use eBay's iOS ID when you're clearing the goods through customs, and that will allow you to exempt that import. So you're not going to be charged import VAT at the time that the goods go into the EU. So there's a simplification around that as well. However, with every simplification, there's usually a complication. You will still need to know the HS code of those goods that you're shipping to be able to clear them through customs. Even though the VAT will be exempt, you still have to go through a full customs procedure that you wouldn't have had to do previously. So you need to know that classification of all the goods that you're going to be selling to customers in the EU. Okay, so let's have a look at another example. Exactly the same situation, except a much higher value good here. So now we're talking about jewelry that sells for €1,000 instead of €10. You're selling to customers in the EU, you're selling them on eBay again, so via a marketplace, and the goods are shipped direct from the UK. So an import is happening here. What's the situation now? Well, the low value consignment relief threshold isn't going to apply. We're way above that. So import VAT is due at the point of clearance into the EU, always has been, probably always will be. And then the UK company, you as the seller, you kind of have a couple of options there. Either you register at the destination, you pay that import VAT, but you can recover it through your VAT return, and you charge your customer local VAT in whichever country you're selling to. Or probably more likely for kind of smaller sellers selling through eBay, you let your buyer handle that. So you just ship it as an export, and they'll pay custom taxes and duties when they receive the goods, when they're delivered to them. Okay, and again, the sales made direct from the UK company to the end customer. So eBay isn't a deemed supplier in this. From the 1st of July, nothing changes in this situation. So we're talking about €1,000 here, but anything from €150 and up, your situation doesn't change. The relationship is still between you and your customer. eBay doesn't become a deemed seller. And what this can mean is that if you sell, if you have some products that are €100, some products that are €200, you're selling now in two different ways. Some via eBay as a deemed seller, and some still direct to your customer, having to deal with all of the usual rules that you would have done initially anyway. So potentially, although it can seem like a simplification, it can mean that actually you have lots of different things going on, whereas previously it was just one situation you had to think about. Okay, so let's have a look at another use case. This is something that may come up if you sell through other means than just on eBay. So we're back to kind of similar to use case one. It's a UK company. They're selling €10 pieces of jewelry to customers throughout the EU. The goods are shipped direct from the UK again. There's an import happening, but this time they're selling through their own web store. So maybe you have your own web shop as well as selling on eBay, and some of your customers will be through one, some will be through the other. So the current situation, this is exactly the same as for use case one. So the de minimis threshold applies, no import VAT, you can ship the goods with no VAT implications, and you're selling direct to your own customer. So kind of, relatively straightforward in this situation. From the 1st of July, again, that de minimis threshold is gone and VAT is applicable. However, because you're not selling through a marketplace anymore, you are the one that needs to deal with the VAT in this situation. So you're below that €150 threshold, which means you can exempt the import, but you'd need to be registered for IOS. So you'd need to register for IOS, you'd need to file quarterly IOS returns, and you need to charge and collect local VAT from all of your customers. So if you're shipping goods to customers in France, Germany, Belgium, and Austria, you'd need to collect local VAT from each one of those customers and put them into your IOS return at the end of the quarter, okay? And again, you as the UK company need to know those HS codes of the goods that you're selling as well. So there's probably more considerations if you're selling through your own web store than a marketplace in this situation, because you're the one who becomes liable to have to figure all of this out and register for various different filings. Okay, so last one I want to talk about is slightly different. So UK company again, we're now selling the expensive jewelry, so €1,000 for a piece of jewelry, selling via eBay, so it's a marketplace sale, but this time the goods are shipped from stock held in France, so there's no import happening now. We're looking at goods that are already cleared within the EU, okay? For the purposes of this example, we'll say that this customer, they sell an awful lot of very expensive jewelry, so they've crossed all of the distance selling thresholds throughout the EU, so they have registrations in every country. So the current situation, they have registrations in every country where they're above the local distance selling threshold, and they also have to have a VAT registration where they have stock. So anytime you hold stock in a country, you're going to need to register there, regardless of any other simplifications that might apply, okay? The UK company would charge VAT in the country of the customer, so at the destination, and they'd report that on a local VAT return. So going back to that Estonian customer, if they sell something to a customer in Estonia, they'll charge them Estonian VAT and they'll have to file an Estonian VAT return to handle that as well. And in this situation, up until the 1st of July, the sale made by the UK company is direct to the end customer. So still, even though you're selling through a marketplace, it's that company to customer relationship that's happening there. What's going to change from the 1st of July? In this situation, again, deemed supplier rules will come into effect. So although we're selling something for €1,000, because the goods are already within the EU and it's a non-EU company that's making the sale, regardless of the value, the marketplace becomes the deemed supplier. So in this situation, this becomes much more complicated for eBay, much more straightforward for the seller, because while they still need to have their VAT registration in France, nothing changes there because they still have stock there. The sale is made via the marketplace. The marketplace makes that sale to the end customer. They're the one collecting VAT from customers in Estonia and wherever else. And the UK company just makes a B2B sale in France to eBay. So potentially, if this is all you're doing, you go from, having crossed all those distance selling thresholds, needing to register and charge local VAT in all of those different countries, to just selling to eBay now, and they will manage everything through those marketplace rules. However, again, to make it more complicated, similar to that situation we were talking about earlier, if these were sales through your own web store, you weren't using a marketplace, marketplace rules don't apply, and you'd need to register for the one-stop shop. The good thing, again, though, is that you can register for the one-stop shop in France, and that one registration covers all the other 26 member states. So you can go from doing 27 VAT returns to one VAT return in France and one-stop shop return in France. So it can still have the potential to simplify the situation, even if you're still the seller and you're selling direct without any marketplaces involved. So there's a couple of different ways that it can work. And so I hope this kind of shows, that there are lots of different selling scenarios which can be affected by these changes. And particularly if you have a few of these different models, maybe you sell some cheap goods, some expensive goods, some through a marketplace, some through your own web store, some that you're shipping from the UK, some that maybe you hold stock in Europe, or you're drop shipping from within Europe or something like that, so the goods are already cleared in the customs union. It could be that different parts of this new legislation have different impacts on you. Suddenly some of your sales are to eBay as a deemed seller, some of them are direct to your customer, so there's a lot of new complexities that can come in there. Okay, so I'm pretty much done now, so I'll just go through a couple of key takeaways from this and just kind of summarize where we are and what this could mean for you as sellers. So I think the first thing that's probably worth mentioning, this is relatively urgent now. So, these changes are coming into effect on the 1st of July. That's less than 4 weeks from today. So it's really something that businesses who are going to be impacted by this need to have some kind of idea of how they're going to deal with this, or be talking to someone to help them figure out how they can get these registrations if they need them, what's got to change in terms of who they're invoicing, and how they can manage all of this going forward from the 1st of July. I think some of what we've talked about can make things a little bit simpler. There can be cases where you need less registrations. There can be cases where you're invoicing eBay instead of invoicing your end customer. And this can make things a little bit more straightforward in some circumstances. However, again, on the flip side of that, there are things that can be more complex. If a lot of these rules apply to you, you now have to worry about, well, am I selling to eBay or am I selling to my customer? Am I under a threshold? Am I over a threshold? Where's my stock and how does that impact what I'm doing? And yeah, with that variety, there are multiple business models. Different schemes can apply depending on what exactly it is you're doing. Okay, so just a little bit about us. I haven't really told you who we are yet. So Avalara offer tax technology and managed compliance solutions. And first off, what does that mean? Well, so we just love talking to people about this stuff. Okay, so that's what my job is. I talk to people about changes in VAT legislation. I talk to people about our products and about our services. So if any of this kind of sounds like it's going to impact you, you're not quite sure, maybe some of the scenarios we talked through sound like your business model and you want to understand more about how it's going to impact you. Maybe you think actually you have a completely different business model that wasn't covered today and you want to talk to someone about how that works. We love talking to people about this stuff. We're just a bunch of VAT nerds. We like talking about tax all day long, and we'd love to understand more what you're doing and how we can help you. In terms of some of our offerings, particularly around the EU and the changes that are coming in, we do offer a full OS service and also an IOS service. So we can help you register for the one-stop shop or the import one-stop shop, and we can help you file your returns as well going forward. And I've included a link here to our IOS page. So if you want to go and have a look there, you can see details of our registration services there. It's also worth mentioning we are a global company. We have tax solutions worldwide. So if you're trading outside of the EU, maybe you sell to customers in Switzerland, Norway, Australia, South Africa, all of these countries that have kind of similar rules when it comes to e-commerce sales, and potentially you need to register there. We offer a full global VAT compliance service, and we can assist you both with software solutions and also managed return solutions where we handle all of that on your behalf. We have a product called Avatax. This was actually Avalara's flagship product. This is what the company was built for originally, which is a tax determination engine. So as well as handling compliance and reporting, if you're struggling just to figure out exactly what taxes you need to charge your customers because of their location, particular place of supply rules, etc., Avatax can help with that. So it can connect with any system you're using, and it can handle that determination piece for you before you even come to invoice your customer and then have to file a VAT return somewhere. We do also offer a HS code classification service. So we talked about HS classification, HS codes a little bit earlier. Maybe this is something that's going to impact you now where it hadn't before. We can assist companies in dealing with all of that, particularly if you're selling worldwide, where HS codes are different in every different country, even though you're selling exactly the same product. This can be a one-off exercise, or it can be ongoing if your product catalog is constantly changing as well. We can also help with duties. If you want to know full landed cost prices of goods that you're shipping across borders, we can help there. And we can also assist with EORI registrations if that's something you need for importing into the EU and something that you don't already have. So yeah, lots of things that we can talk to you about if that would be of use. Okay, and that's pretty much everything from me, I think. So I'll hand back over to you, Isabel. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Alexa. Really interesting, and thanks for showing all the different scenarios. So before I hand over to Irene, who's our shipping expert and will explain our product solution so that we can comply with the upcoming changes, I would highly encourage you to use the chat option here, because we will definitely have some minutes at the end of the session and we will answer all your questions. And with that, Irene, over to you.
Thank you, Isabel. Let me just share my screen. Isabel, could you just let me know that
Yeah, we can see the PowerPoint view.
Hopefully that's...
Yes, and now we are on the first slide.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Hi everybody, my name's Irene, I work in the UK shipping team, and I'm going to talk you through a little bit more details about this. So I think first and foremost, it's really important that all the sellers take action before the 1st of July to remain compliant and competitive. So the first thing that every single seller has to do is they have to share eBay's IOS number where we've collected the VAT. And the reason that you need to do that is you need to share it electronically with your carriers for the EU imports where we've collected VAT so that the carrier can clear it for you. It can't emphasize enough how important that is. If you've not spoken to your carrier already about how to send this to them, please do that. The second thing that sellers need to do is, if you're VAT registered, you must provide VAT rates on all European and UK listings. Obviously, if you're not VAT registered, you don't need to do that. And we'll talk about why that's important and what it means in the coming slides. Then the next thing you have to do is make sure your business details are always accurate. Make sure you've got your correct VAT ID, your address is up to date, and your item location is up to date. So they're the key 3 actions that we're asking all sellers to do. So as you've probably already noticed, this field has been in eBay for quite a long time that you can put your VAT rate in. So it's really important that you update all your listings to include that VAT rate if you're VAT registered. And if it's missing, what will happen is the VAT for the European buyer will be added on top. So that's why it's really important that you do it. If you put in your VAT rate, we'll impute that in the back end and only show the appropriate VAT rate to the buyer for the country that they're based in. So we're also going to enable this net pricing for sellers where goods are above 150 euros and exported to the EU. And we're also going to make this available for the global shipping program as well. I saw a question about that, so yes, it will be available. So if you're selling something for £240 and you put your VAT rate of 20%, we'll show the net price to the buyer. So that means that your price will be competitive, but also with the caveat that the buyer will still have to pay VAT and duties on delivery of the item in country. So the reason that we're asking VAT registered sellers to provide your VAT rates is your items will be more competitive to your buyers in the European countries. And to update your listings, many of you will be using APIs. You should be able to update your listings quite simply. If not, you can edit them in the Seller Hub by downloading a report, adjusting your VAT rates, and then uploading it again. Or you can use the bulk edit tool, or you can use your APIs if you're using APIs. So it's really important that we ask you all to make sure your VAT rates are updated prior to the 1st of July. And then where eBay have collected and remitted VAT, we're going to be really clear with you on your orders that we've done so. It will say on every order the eBay's collected VAT and what the eBay collect and remit tax rate is. So it'll be really clear. Just in this example, this is an order example. You can see that it's got VAT paid, IOSS ID, we've just blanked that out at the moment. And again, tax details, VAT paid, IOSS ID. So it'll be very clear to you on every order. So if you go onto your eBay account, you'll see it very clearly if we've collected the VAT for that order. If you go into your order download report, you'll see very clearly there'll be 2 columns with eBay collected tax and the eBay collect and remit tax rate. And then if you're using APIs, there's comms going out to developers that will tell your developers how to get that information in the APIs. So it will be very clear on every single order that where we've collected. And then the next most important thing is you always need to electronically provide the eBay IOSS number to carriers where eBay's collected import VAT. The only way the carriers are going to know that VAT is being collected by eBay is by you telling them what our IOSS number on the orders where we've collected it. So first and foremost, you should talk to your carrier. Most of the carriers have either issued guidance or are issuing guidance in the coming weeks, depending what system that you're using with the carrier. But please get in touch with them. If you've not been told by them already what fields they require that in, please get in touch with them. The same thing if you're using third-party listing tools or you're using a third party to manage both your eBay and your carriers. Make sure that you know how you're going to pass the IOSS to the carrier. If you're using eBay's shipping label platform, you don't need to worry about this. It's all done automatically for you. And the same thing if you're using the eBay global shipping program, it's all done automatically for you. In fact, all the orders, regardless of value for the global shipping program, we collect VAT and duty from the buyer at checkout. So it's all seamlessly done for you through that as well. And then if any of you are getting your carrier labels manually, you will be able to manually add in the IOSS number on any of the carrier online systems. And I can't stress enough about how important it is. It must be declared on the online electronic customs declarations with all carriers. And then where eBay collects VAT, we're going to issue tax invoices to buyers. So you should not issue a separate tax invoice to buyers. So it's very clear for the tax invoice that eBay will provide to buyers what VAT that they've paid. And this is, again, just to reiterate, to keep your eBay account details updated. You can go into my account and do that quite easily. The link's on the bottom there as well. And then just to summarize what you need to do prior to the 1st of July, you need to add the VAT rates on all your listings on the European and the UK sites. We've got some examples on our Help Hub of how we work that out, and we've got some really good tables of examples. Please have a look at it. It will help you remain competitive. And then the second one is get in contact with your carrier regarding the IOSS. Establish how the carrier require the information to be shared. Pretty much all the carriers have got documentation either issued or issuing in the coming weeks. You will have to electronically declare the IOSS by transaction, so please get in touch with them. And then check the details in your eBay account, make sure your VAT ID is up to date, make sure your address is up to date, your item location, etc. is accurate. And I think, we can't stress enough how important it is that these processes are ready for the 1st of July. And what we're trying to avoid is bad buyer experience. If you don't declare the IOSS to the carrier will deliver it unpaid, and the buyer may have to pay VAT again upon delivery. We don't want our buyers to be going through that experience. So that's why it's really important that you follow these actions prior to the 1st of July. And that's everything for me.
Right, thank you so much, Irene. So like I said, we have some time left for a Q&A session, and I would suggest that we immediately start. We also got tons of questions. So maybe, Irene, starting with a question, because you just explained something around the global shipping program. Would you just explain again how IOSS and the upcoming changes are relating to the global shipping program? There were a lot of questions around it.
Yeah, so if you use the global shipping program, it's really simple. Everything's done for you. Regardless of the value, eBay will always show the price to the buyer as VAT and duty included. If it's under 150 euros, that's eBay have collected and remitted that VAT, but GSP will automatically populate with eBay IOSS number. If it's over 150 euros, the global shipping program will pay that VAT and relevant duties directly to the carrier so that the buyer doesn't get a surprise on delivery. So I think the most important thing is the buyer always sees the fully landed price up front at checkout. And from a seller perspective, you don't need to worry about anything because it's all taken care of for you. And that's the same as GSP calculates HS codes as well.
So does the 150 threshold impact global shipping at all? eBay's global shipping program?
No, so the global shipping program is a delivery duties paid to the carrier solution for all values. So even today, if somebody orders something at any value, we will always collect the VAT and relevant duties up front at checkout and give it to the carrier. So, and the same thing will continue from the 1st of July. If it's 200 euros, eBay will clear that as VAT and duty paid to the carrier. So it's a delivery duties paid solution above 150 euros.
Okay, thank you. And then there was one question about this 150 threshold. Does this include or exclude shipping charges?
So that excludes shipping charges. So it's the value of the consignment that you're clearing through customs. So yeah, not including shipping costs.
Thank you, Alex. And then there was one question, you explained it a little bit earlier, I think, but maybe you can repeat how the IOSS number needs to be obtained.
Sure. So it does actually vary by country, depending on where you want to register. You have a choice which country you register in for IOS. The recommendation is for it to be the country where most of your imports go through, but it doesn't have to be there. It can be wherever you like. So, you know, if there's a certain language that you'd prefer to register in, you can do that. But yeah, every country will have their own process that you need to go through to register with them. If you go to our website, so the avalara.com/IOS, there's more information on there depending on the specific country. And also we can talk you through any specific situation you have. But yeah, variable depending on the country. Just like everything in the EU, I think. We can't quite agree on anything.
Great, and maybe Irene, to add in here, there were some questions how eBay will share IOSS number. Maybe you can repeat the scenarios where what sellers need to consider.
Yeah, so we will share where eBay have collected and remitted VAT. We will share our IOSS number with you on the order transaction. So you'll see it in the order details. If you pull orders through the order download report, you'll see it there. If you get it on the APIs, you'll also see it there. So it will be very clear to you, and really important, you must electronically declare it to the carriers. I think there was a question about it being on the parcel. If you put it on the parcel but didn't electronically declare it, it will still be subject to VAT in country. For the carriers to declare it correctly, it needs to be in the electronic declaration. That was a lot of declarations in the same sentence. I apologize.
Yeah, there were also some questions around if it's sufficient to just add the IOSS number on parcels.
No, that would not be sufficient, and your buyer may have to pay VAT again on delivery. It's really important, it must be in the electronic declaration.
And then, Irene, also another question for you. So some sellers are using the global shipping program and are wondering about the recommendation to add VAT rates on all their listings.
Yep.
Can you maybe say something why it is important to also add VAT rates to listings, even though global shipping program is being used?
Yep. So if you're VAT registered and you put in your VAT rate, then what we'll do for global shipping program is we'll take out that VAT rate and add in the VAT rate for the buyer country. So there's some really good examples of this on the Help Hub, and it means that you're more competitive. If you didn't put in that VAT rate, what we would do is add VAT on top of your price, so it would make you seem less competitive. So that's why it's important that you add the VAT rate, even if you're using GSP.
Thank you. And then I think you already explained it, but maybe it's also a question for Catherine. What amount will the seller receive? I think there's still some confusion. If sellers receive the net amount, when will they receive the VAT inclusive price? Maybe we can explain a little bit more here.
Yeah, so the request, as Irene has already mentioned, is for sellers to give us the gross price plus a VAT rate that they have used to determine that price. We will then use that information to determine the net price. So we will impute the VAT and get to collect the net price. And in cases where eBay need to collect VAT, we will apply the destination VAT on top of the net price. In cases where eBay does not collect VAT, so for example, a domestic sale, we will leave the gross price as is, and the seller will receive the UK VAT inclusive price, for example. But if it's a sale to Germany, we will take the UK VAT out and we will apply German VAT on top of the net price to collect German VAT. This would ensure that the seller should still get the same net amount that they would expect, so the same pre-tax amount.
Thank you, Catherine. And Alexa, I think this is a question for you. Maybe you can explain something around margin schemes. There were several questions. Could you maybe explain how they are impacted by the upcoming changes?
That's a very good question, actually. I'm not too sure how margin schemes are going to be impacted by this. Is this margin schemes in the UK or margin schemes elsewhere? I'm guessing in Europe.
It was just written as VAT margin schemes.
I'm not too sure. I don't know that one off the top of my head. I can certainly find out and come back to anyone who's asked questions around that.
So can I just jump in here as well, Isabel?
Sure.
As a marketplace, eBay cannot use a margin scheme. So we actually need to collect VAT based on the listing price that the seller gives us. And if a seller is listing and they're a margin scheme seller, we need them to give us their listing price and put in a 0% VAT rate, because anything else would impact their margin. So that specifically relates to the eBay element. The margin seller will need to look their own business requirements or advice in the UK.
Okay, thank you. And Alexa, maybe that's also one question. Maybe you could clarify who actually needs to register for IOSS and what exactly needs to be shared, because there's some confusion. If it's a number just per parcel or if it's something where sellers need to register. I think this didn't become quite clear yet.
So sorry, I didn't quite understand the question there. What exactly is the question?
Sellers are asking if they need to register for IOSS.
Okay, so depends on the situation. A lot of the sales that are being made through eBay, no, they wouldn't need to register because they're selling on a marketplace, and eBay are the ones who register for IOSS, and then you as the seller would just invoice eBay rather than invoicing your end customer. For IOSS, it's probably going to be more likely if you're selling through non-marketplace means, so if you're selling through your own web store or something like that. So it really depends on exactly what you're doing, but in a lot of cases, if you're just selling through eBay, you yourselves won't need to register, no.
Irene, Catherine, do you want to add the eBay perspective in here, maybe?
Sorry, Isabel, did you say the question again?
So one seller was asking if they need to register for IOSS, and Alexa just confirmed, no, they don't have to if they are trading via eBay, only if they have their own businesses. And maybe we can explain again what exactly needs to be done with eBay's IOSS number, if it's a unique number, if it needs to be shared with all parcels, and yeah, maybe you can just explain this piece.
So we have only one IOSS number, and that will be shared with sellers as part of the order details. If a seller, as Alexa has already said, if seller is selling only on eBay or through other marketplaces, they will receive the IOSS specific to the sales on that marketplace as part of their orders. if a seller has their own website and sells directly, they will need to look into their own IOSS obligations. So eBay IOSS can and should only be used for transactions where eBay has collected VAT.
Exactly, yeah. So the IOSS number needs to be related to whoever it is that's making the end sale to the customer. In this case, it would be eBay. If you're selling through your own web store, it would be yourself. If you were selling through another marketplace, it would be whoever's going to make that end sale, so the other marketplace as well. And you'd need to have that IOSS number declared every time you ship goods through customs. So it's, yeah, not just a one-off thing that needs to be done.
And then there was one really general question, Alexa, this is probably also something you can answer. Who is liable for the customs clearance?
So if you were selling through eBay, so it's still you as the seller are liable for getting the goods through customs clearance. You're the one who's shipping it, so you're sending it through customs. Unless eBay, you have a different opinion on that.
So Alexa's right, you as the seller are responsible. Unless you use GSP, then we take care of that for you. So yeah, that's the only time when it's not you as the seller.
Okay, great. And Irene, this question probably goes to you and Catherine. There was one question around if sellers need to add different VAT rates depending on the EU countries they are selling to, or if only the 20% from the UK listing is sufficient.
So that's quite a technical question as well. But basically, if the seller is listing on the UK site and has used UK VAT rates to determine their pricing, then the 20% will be fine, or the UK VAT rates will be fine, even if it's a passive CBT or a passive cross-border sale. If the seller is actively listing on the other European sites, we would recommend that they use a VAT rate based on that to ensure that they're determining their correct margins, etc. But again, I think that will be a business decision rather than sort of an eBay decision. We will use the VAT rate that the seller provides us to determine the net amount.
Great. And there's still some questions coming in around this IOSS piece. I think this is still a bit confusing for sellers. So there was one question, if there's a different IOSS number per eBay country. So because there are several eBay sites and sellers are asking if they need different numbers per country.
There's only one, eBay will only have one IOSS for shipments to all of the EU.
Okay, so I think we answered most of the questions. There was one question: if sellers are not VAT registered, maybe we can repeat the steps they need to consider, or what happens to their listings.
Yep, so the first thing, if you're not VAT registered, you have to declare the IOSS number to your carrier where eBay have collected the VAT, and we will tell you that on every order where we've collected the VAT. So that's the most important thing you need to do. In terms of listing, you'll be listing with your gross price, and then we will work out the buyer destination VAT on top of that price. And as I said, Isabel, I think, shared the Help Hub pages. We've got some really good examples there, so you can have a look at that.
Okay, yeah, I think this became quite clear. And then there are some questions around categories with 0% VAT rates. Can we give a recommendation for these categories? Because in other countries, it might still apply a VAT rate.
Yeah, so different countries have different rates on the same product. So something that's 0 rated in the UK could be maybe a reduced rate. in the EU, it could also be standard rated. So somewhere like Denmark, they charge 25% VAT pretty much across the board. So regardless of what you're selling, if you have a Danish customer, there's probably going to be 25% VAT applicable. So you will likely still have to charge VAT, even if it's zero rated here. I guess in terms of how that would work on eBay, based on what Catherine and Irene have been saying, they would calculate that back from the gross price. So even if you're expecting it to be zero rated and, you know, the gross price to be the net that you'd get back, actually you'd have to reverse calculate out the VAT at the destination regardless. Because yeah, there are very few countries that actually zero rate products at all. There's usually at least a small VAT rate charged on pretty much everything in most EU countries.
Yeah, Catherine, Irene, may you want to give an example of a listing in UK that requires 0% and then for example, 19% in Germany, just to make it really clear here.
Well, I don't know if I will give that, but I can say that also I think one of the questions in the chat was if you sell a book in the UK, it's 0%, but if that book is shipped from the UK to Germany after the 1st of July, eBay will collect VAT on that book, providing it's below €150, and we will collect VAT at the German rate, which applies to books, which is 7%. So we will collect that VAT from the buyer, and we will remit that to the German tax authorities, but the seller will still get the listing price that they listed at in the UK.
And there's still some questions coming for the sellers that are not VAT registered. Maybe we can explain this use case once again. So if I'm a non-VAT registered seller, what happens to my listings on European sites?
So it's probably worth mentioning, sorry, Catherine, I think you're about to say something there, but it's probably worth mentioning that even if you're not a UK VAT registered business, these obligations in the EU will still apply to you. So either through a marketplace or, you know, if you were selling on your own website, there's no threshold for iOS. So even though you don't have a VAT number here, you would still be seen as a taxable entity in the EU. So largely the way that it would be dealt with for you as a non-VAT registered business would be similar to for a VAT registered business. Sorry, Catherine, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was just going to say that from an eBay point of view, I think as Irene has already said, if you're not VAT registered, you should just list as normal, and we will collect any VAT based on the delivery address. So again, taking our book example from the UK, if the item is listed by a non-VAT registered business, you don't give us any VAT rate. We will then take that item and apply the destination delivery country VAT rate. We will collect that from the buyer, and you will get the net amount. So that rate will be applied on top of the listing price.
Okay, and can we maybe explain once again the use case when an IOSS number has not been shared in cases where it should be shared?
Yeah, and actually there's somebody that's put a comment on the chat about the post office and CN22s, and I'm just going to clarify that point. Sure. If you go into the post office will not have updated CN22 or 23 to declare the IOSS. So it's really important that you use an online system of printing your labels, which you then drop off at the post office, because the only way that it can be delivered as VAT paid is if you electronically declare to the carrier, which means if you're walking into the post office with handwritten labels using a CN22, 23, they don't have the ability to accept the IOSS. So that's the one exception, but for every other carrier, if you don't pass on the IOSS where eBay's collected and remitted the VAT, the carrier will send these goods through their red channel, and they will try and collect VAT again before they deliver it to the buyer destination.
And there was one question if there's a direct API to Royal Mail, or if Royal Mail directly gets the IOSS number. Maybe Irene, I know you're the expert here. Maybe you can share some Royal Mail examples, because there are tons of questions for Royal Mail.
So we are going to, in conjunction with Royal Mail, we will issue some more guidance on the Help Hub. But if you have a Royal Mail click and drop account and you've got it linked to eBay, you don't need to worry. We'll automatically populate that. Royal Mail have done a whole lot of work in the background and they will get the eBay IOSS number. So we're going to issue some guidance. Royal Mail will also issue guidance as well. But pretty much, if you've got your Royal Mail account linked to eBay, then we'll share the IOSS with Royal Mail. If you don't have your Royal Mail account linked to eBay, there will be fields for you to put the eBay IOSS in your Royal Mail electronic declaration when you're printing the labels, or in the pre-advice. That'll always be there. The only exception is if you walk into the post office.
Okay, great. And then there was still the question, what happens if I don't share the IOSS number, if I miss something?
Yeah, your buyer will pay VAT again on delivery and destination. And that's a really bad buyer experience. We don't want our buyers to do that. That's why we're reiterating how important it is that you share the IOSS with your carrier.
Okay, great. So there are a lot of questions about what VAT rates do I need to add now to my listings. Irene, maybe we can explain quickly where sellers can add VAT rates to their listings.
Yep. So in your listing, and I think we're going to share this as well, there under your gross price, there's a VAT rate and you can put your percentage there. If you're using APIs, you can easily update all your listings. If you're not using APIs, you just need to go into Seller Hub, download a report, amend your VAT percent. Some of you may have it blank because you've never done this before. So if you put in your VAT rates for each item and then upload it, and then all your listings will be updated.
Yeah, and maybe to add in here, when sellers are creating a new listing within the eBay listing flow, you will find the VAT field below the price, as you could see a few minutes ago on Irene's slides. So there's a VAT field where you can enter a percentage below the price you're giving the item. So yeah, and then maybe we explain it again how it works when there was added a number of a VAT rate of about 21%, and then just 19% are needed. There are really a lot of questions. What exact VAT rate sellers need to add now to their listings, and what happens if they add the wrong VAT rate there?
One for Catherine, I think. You're on mute.
I am on mute, and my internet is now unstable as well. So, so I think Isabel, you were asking what happens if the VAT rate is 19% and someone enters 21%. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, if the whatever VAT rate the seller enters, we will assume is their correct rate. And we will impute that from the gross amount given. So if a seller gives us 119, but a VAT rate of 21, we will impute 21 from that 119. And we will then add the destination VAT. So it's really important that sellers ensure that they give us the right VAT rate that they have used in their pricing.
Yeah, and maybe we can add here, you can also use the active CBT option. So you can actively list your items on different countries. It's simpler when you just add the different shipping options, but you can also go directly, for example, on ebay.de and then create your listings there with the 19% and just keep your local listing with a 20%. It's also possible to just separate it here. So, and with this, we are already at the end. And I would say, really, thank you so much for all this interaction, for all the questions. Thank you so much to Avalara, Alex, Rick. Thank you so much for answering all the questions, for the great introduction into the topic. I also learned a lot, even though I'm working on it since months. So really great to have you here. And yeah, with this, I would say goodbye and thanks for the attendance.